Alright, so that was a 2-minute and 20-second solve. Pretty quick, pretty straightforward. Really the main issues there that I went through was just getting dimensions quickly. So let's really quickly go through this drawing and point out a couple of key things that will potentially trip you up. So the first thing that I noticed was this 25mm uniform wall thickness. This is pretty important. It means that the wall thickness is the same down below and on the sides here as well. So the big thing to do there is to not draw these two slots on our top plane first. So you notice that I drew just the big body, extruded it out, and then I shelled it. The shell feature will preserve that 25mm uniform wall thickness all the way through. And the reason being is if we just start a quick sketch here, and then I convert, let me just convert these two and see if that works. So just do convert entities, and then I'm going to dimension between these two. And it won't let me, but I will just draw a line here, and we'll dimension that instead. So you can see that that's 26.6 millimeters. It's not actually 25 millimeters wall thickness. And you think, well, why is that? Well, if we cut a section view in our model from our right plane, we can probably see why. So the wall thickness actually goes, if I make a sketch here, the wall thickness goes between these two lines, which are at an angle. I would need to do a intersection curve, which is a good tip for you. So an intersection curve, that's where those two faces intersect this plane, and that's 25 millimeters. However, this line is at an angle because we're extruding this upwards at an angle, so that's why if we drew this from the top surface and then we just drew this external pattern, offset it in 25 millimeters, and then extruded it at that angle, that would have given us a much different mass. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, if you have that uniform wall thickness, that's a key that you should be using a shell feature most likely, especially in situations like this where things aren't perfectly orthogonal to each other. So that was kind of the main key tricky bit here with this model, is just that uniform wall thickness. Quick tip just to make sure that you use a shell here. Other than that, for me it was just making sure that I saw the dimensions in the right spots. This is pretty straightforward. To get these dimensions, in case you have never done that before, let's go ahead and pop into this initial sketch that we created, not that one. Edit sketch. So to get this dimension, if you will select this circle or this arc and that arc, just normally that goes between the center points. Quick tip that hopefully everybody already knows, holding down shift will let you go to the outside edges of the arc instead. So that's how I got those dimensions quickly. Again, I could have done a little bit faster on those, but regardless, that's how we get those squared away. And then we did this direction sketch from the side, which is an 80 millimeter tall, just to define the height of the sketch or of the extrusion, and then our angle right there within our boss extrude feature. This box here shows the direction of the extrusion, so normally this is just normal to your sketch plane, so just straight up from there. But if you have another line that can define it, you can use that instead. And then we did an up to vertex end condition rather than creating a plane. We just went right up to that point, and it was a lot simpler because we're already defining a line that's going in a particular direction. The other thing to keep in mind, I'll just do this really quickly. If I did a blind extrusion of 80 millimeters, that would actually not get me all the way up to that point. You can see that from the front view here. So it would actually stop short because, again, we're going along this angled dimension here. So that's 80 millimeters from that point to that point rather than from plane to plane. So we need to keep that in mind as well. So there we go. Let's go ahead and do this again. The other thing that slowed me down is not having a shell feature here. That's something that I noticed, and I'm going to go ahead and fix that right now. I was looking at my S key trying to find it, and it just wasn't there. So really quickly, we're going to get rid of, actually I might be able to just stretch this out and add something else in. So let's see if I can find tools here. Actually, this would probably be features and shell. So we'll add that on. That's going to be very helpful going forward as well. So now we have another feature down there. And I don't use it too often, but in cases like this, it's handy to have it right there. You saw me looking for it up in my toolbar. So this S key, there's plenty of videos on it, but this is one of my favorite things about SolidWorks along with mouse gestures. I go back and forth between the two of them a lot. All right, let's jump on in and do it again.